If you wish you could access OGS on your phone very quickly, I have a quick tip for you if you don't know about this. If you're using an iPhone, you can go on OGS and hit that share button, the one that looks like an arrow pointing upwards coming out of a box. If you hit it, and you can do this on Chrome as well, there should be an option to add to home screen. That's what I use. So when you do that, it's like a little app icon. It behaves like an app, and it's real easy access for accessing OGS on the fly. So I'm always tapping that shortcut to check if I have any notifications. I know there are a couple of apps out there that try to interface with OGS, and I've never really found any of them to really work as well as just using the little web app that I create on the home screen. But it's just a little tip if anyone didn't know how to do that. Welcome to Startpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board. And welcome to the last episode of 2025. That's right, I'm going to be taking a 2-week break, and then I'll be back on January 6th, I believe. I believe that's the Monday after all the festivities, New Year's and stuff like that. So I'll be right back. Don't worry. It's a good time to catch up on anything you missed. It's been a great year. Just going to take a real quick break, and then we'll be right back with more Starpoint. But for this final episode of 2020, did I say 2025 earlier? It's the final episode of 2024. I'm already in the 2025 mindset. 2024 is looking like an old year to me now already. But for this final episode, I'm going to do that thing that I said I would do last year. But before that, I want to share with you my Spotify creator Wrapped. Because I don't know if you guys know, but there's a feature on Spotify. For those who listen on Spotify, there's a feature every year. They come out with this thing called Spotify Wrapped, and they tell you all these statistics about what you've been listening to all year, including podcasts. But us creators, people who make content for Spotify, also get a version of this. And I want to share with you some of the stats that I got from this year. Our listeners grew by 388%. Which is quite a feat. Just keep in mind, though, Startpoint started like halfway through last year. So, I mean, still, that's crazy. So it's comparing last year's gains versus this year's gains, I guess. And then I think we broke the streams chart. So it went 999% increase in streams, but it was like 999% plus streams. It didn't know how to go past 999. So many of you started streaming Startpoint this past year, and then plus 423% followers. So thank you, all of you who started following and faithfully listening to this show. It means quite a lot. And then 82% of you found me this year. So this year has been like the year of growth for Startpoint. What can I say? And the top episode was What's Your Style of Play, which is episode 2, interestingly enough. I'm not sure. I'm wondering whether people are... I know a lot of people like to go to episode 1 and they just kind of start and chug through till they catch up to me. But I wonder why episode 2 is the top episode and not episode 1, whether they skip or, I don't know, maybe that one, the title doesn't seem very interesting. Who knows? I have no idea. If anybody has any theories, I'd love to hear them. And then Startpoint is also listened to in 50 countries. That's crazy. I love that. That's one of my favorite stats. I know that Go is a game that kind of travels across all sorts of different cultures, and being an English spoken podcast, I kind of don't expect too many people to be listening from other countries, but I know English is kind of like the de facto second language of many countries, so I guess that makes sense. And it's great to see so many people listening, and I love to have so many different cultures kind of tuning in to Startpoint. I think it's great. Some interesting little tidbits about you guys. Your music tastes kind of surprised me. Your number one genre in music tastes in the Starpoint audience is soundtrack, like movie soundtrack, I assume, which is interesting, pretty interesting. I guess like I mean, I love a good soundtrack. My favorite movie soundtrack music piece is the theme to Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire version by Danny Elfman. Oh, when the I believe they're French horns. When those hit, oh, they just hit so hard. And then number 2 and 3 is folk and pop. And coincidentally, like, I love folk music. That's kind of my thing. So that's kind of interesting. And so I found that very interesting what the music tastes were. I don't know how accurate that data is, but seeing as there are hundreds of you and it's kind of pulling from your guys' pool of stuff, then I assume it has some accuracy. Audiobook genres, I assume maybe less accurate because I know many people don't use Spotify as an audiobook platform. I certainly don't. But number 1 being sci-fi and fantasy, number 2 being business and careers, number 3 being fiction and literature, just as a little fun fact for you guys. And then finally, Starpoint was the top 10 show for 467 fans. It was a top 5 show for 363 fans, and the number 1 podcast for 144 fans. So thank you to all of you who have listened to so much Starpoint. I'm sure you guys know who you are if you're number 1 or 10 or whatever. That you've listened to this show a lot amongst other shows. But I'm very, very appreciative of all of you, every single one of you who have listened. And I hope you find some level of enjoyment or peace or whatever it is you take from this rambling that I do on this show. And actually, one of the things I really hope is that this show invigorates you and helps you kind of have a maintained passion for Go. I know it's hard sometimes. It kind of gets lost, and we forget why we like Go. We kind of forget the enjoyment of it, and I think we need to kind of talk about all the stuff around Go, and that's why I love doing this podcast, because it, I feel like, is a good way for me, at least, to keep connected to Go. And then one final thing that I don't really know what this really means, but I got a creator personality, and the personality that I got was the storyteller, and I have no idea what that's based on, and I don't know what other creator personalities are out there, but that's what I got, and that was my Spotify Wrapped for 2024. And now it's time to do something a little special. Longtime listeners of the show may or may not remember last year, at the end of the year, I did a little message to myself that I would react to this year, and I haven't forgotten that, and I'm going to do it now. So I'm going to play the audio and react to last year's message to my future self. So here we go. My future self, I want to ask, well, do you still play on OGS or Fox? Or have you branched out to other servers? Have you tried KGS yet? Because I've been meaning to try KGS, and it's just hard to, because I have all my like invested time in the other servers, and I like that I have this like established rank, and I want to work on that. So it's hard to shift sometimes. Okay, not only have I not branched out, I have stopped playing. I don't play on Fox or OGS, let alone. Well, I do play on OGS, the correspondence games. I'm still, well in those games, but I haven't. Things have been so busy lately. Just the whole getting engaged things and planning for a wedding and stuff like that. That's really been taking hold of my life lately. So. No, I have not branched out. I have not started on KGS, and I forgot that I wanted to do that, so maybe I'll try it. But one thing that always holds me back from getting back into KGS is that I know that when I get there, I'm going to have to play a bot or something, because people don't play with you if you have like a question mark rank. So, no, I have not branched out. Sorry, past self. And I've also been meaning to try to give PandaNet a try, so I'm wondering if you're still stuck with the same old servers or if you've branched out. I'm wondering, have you gone to any more tournaments and how those have gone? Has your AGA rating changed? My AGA rating is at 5Q right now. Oh, okay, so this was before I went to that the LA Open. So if my AGA rating was at 5Q, then that means that was, yes, I have gone to another tournament, and it was great, and it was probably the best performance I've ever had at a tournament, and very, very happy with what happened. So there was a LA Open tournament. If you haven't listened to that episode, there, if you just scroll back, you'll see something about an LA Open. There were 2 episodes actually on that, and one of them was my personal account of what happened, and the other one was a bunch of interviews that I've done with people at the tournament. Wait, one thing before I continue, the PandaNet thing. I did try PandaNet. I don't know if this was before or after. I think it was before I tried PandaNet, and I couldn't get a game. It was just, there was no one there. I don't know what happened, but it was a fail. But yeah, now I'm a 3Q in AGA, and there's like, basically this rank is based on like 10 games total. It's like, that's how AGA ranks are basically. But yeah, so I did go to a tournament. It was great. It was a while ago now though, I think, since the last one that I went to. So I'm wondering, have you gone to any more tournaments? Have you gone out to any more club meetings in the past year? I have visited, as I've mentioned, the Mission Viejo Go Club a couple times. It would be nice to visit again, but it is a little far for me. So we'll see if I can drop in at some point later on in the next year. Okay, one thing I'm noticing that's difficult to react to here is I have a bad concept of time, and I don't know when things happened and when the beginning of the year started and what happened this year specifically. But I'm sure I visited the Mission Viejo Go Club again after this. So yes, I have gone back maybe like once or twice, probably once. And then, one thing that they don't know, my past self doesn't know, is that I actually got guests on the show from the Mission Viejo Go Club, Sean and Tin, and I hope to have them back, actually. I need to go ping them and see if we can do another episode. What else? Let me think. Have you learned any new Joseki? I've learned a few Joseki this year. And it's been fun. I do have to spend a considerable amount of time to make sure I can memorize the moves of the Joseki, and then even more time to try to apply them to my games. Again, I'm struggling here. What Joseki I learned at this point, so I need to be more specific next time and actually talk about what specific Joseki I'm talking about. I must have learned a couple more after this. Unless I'm pretty sure what I did was I reinforced those, because it was a very complicated string of Joseki, and I think I wanted to reinforce my learning for them, so I just kept on going back and reviewing the same one. It was like a lot of 4-point Joseki where you pincer, and then instead of invading 3-3, you approach the other side, and there's many variations that come after that. And then there's also the versions of those where you approach not with the Knight's move approach, but with no, it's not that. It's the it's like a pincer, but a 2-space pincer or a high pincer. There's all these variations to that, and I've really been trying to learn that a lot. I don't know if I've learned any other Joseki besides that, though. Oh, I have another question, which is, what opening are you playing right now? Because this past year, at some point, I played only star points because I realized I like fighting and I like influence, and double star point started to work out pretty well for me. But then I think when I transitioned over to the OGS games, I noticed that opponents are a lot more careful with their groups, and it's less advantageous, I think, for me to use the star point opening. So I've been trying, because I've been losing on points. So I'm like, maybe I should try playing more territorially. So I've actually switched completely to double 3-4s. So I'm curious where that is right now. Like, where are your openings at? And do you still play, like, do you still play star points, or do you play 3-4s? What other questions do I have for myself here? That's so interesting. I don't remember playing double 3-4s this recently back. Double 3-4s seems like so, like, not me right now. I'm back to double star points. I'm liking my star points. I feel like it shakes the game up a little more, and I like it when the game is shaken up. And I like playing with influence. I think that's kind of my thing. And I don't know. I've been playing double star point. I went double star points only, and then I went to kind of explore some other options, and then I'm back to double star points. That's how I play. I like approaching. I like pincering. I like, just all those shenanigans. I was gonna say something else. Oh yeah, I've been thinking of doing some weird stuff, like 5-4 and things like that. I'm always hesitant. I'm always scared to do it. But I know I have to do it, and I have to like just expose myself to, because I haven't done it much. I've maybe done it a few times like earlier on in my Go career, but I've always like shied away from playing not traditional stuff. But I think I really should, and I should try to see what it teaches me, because I think it's an opportunity to learn. I don't know. I don't really know if I have any other things that I can think of. Did you buy any more Go books? I can almost guarantee the answer is yes. I'm pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure I bought The Girl Who Plays Go, which you can count it as a Go book, but it's kind of just a novel. I can't remember if I bought any new ones that were actually about like studying, because I know I had a problem and I didn't want to buy any more. I must have bought the Opening Theory Made Easy book after this, because I think the episode I did on it was after this, and I had bought the book, and that's why I did the episode on it. Funny fact about that, my fiance was listening to my episodes and noticed in my book review episode that I really wanted Opening Theory Made Easy by Otake Hideo. And she got me the book. And the thing is that she was several episodes behind, not realizing that in a later episode, I actually review the book. And I say that I've got the book. She didn't know that I had the book. So that was a little oopsie there with the double gift. But I mean, I love that book. So it's like it's almost nice just having 2 copies of it. I'll find a use for it at some point, for sure. Maybe I'll find it a nice student to hand it down to. To that question, it's hard to think about because I don't need any more Go books. But how about this? How about more questions about my own personal game? If you could talk to yourself now in order to improve, what do you think I should do? What am I lacking? What am I weak on? What should I do? And is there something that I'm currently unable to see that you know about? It's hard to comment on that without looking at my games, probably. Probably hard for you to remember where you were at. Maybe just grab a game from this era and see what kind of play I'm making. Huh. Okay. I mean, I guess it's hard because I don't feel I've improved a whole lot. I feel like my perspective on the game has changed quite a bit over the year, though, and my attitude towards learning has changed a lot. The one thing I might say is maybe back off on learning proper things for a bit. This is an episode idea I actually have for the future, but what I might advise myself to do here is, instead of trying to figure out all the answers, try to figure out what your opinion is and what your point of view is. Whenever you make a move, instead of thinking that it's a multiple choice question where one of the answers is true and the other ones are false, think of it like an essay question and look at the board and think about what your values are on the board and what you're trying to balance and what you think could work out. And really try to make your own opinion come out and shine, I think, is what I might tell myself, because that's kind of what I'm realizing lately. And I don't know. It's I might take a look at my old games from a year ago to see what other advice I might have, but I really don't think I've improved a whole lot this past year. I think I've kind of been stuck, and I've kind of been trying to wait and get through certain hurdles to see what I can do to make my game better. And yeah. But I'm very curious to know where my Go understanding is a year from now. Because a year ago, I feel like, sometimes you learn so much and yet your skill your rank doesn't change. And I think that doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't improve. Sometimes it takes a while for your rank to catch up to the stuff you've learned. And so if you've been stuck for a while like I have, don't lose heart, because sometimes it takes a while for those skills to cook underneath, and finally you learn enough to break out of that plateau. That's so funny that I mentioned. I mean, I still think that's so true today, and the fact that I haven't seen much movement in my rank doesn't make me feel like I haven't improved or have wasted my year. I think that I'm still learning. I'm soaking things in. The rank will reflect my progress eventually, and I think that you can't just take it. It's funny because like I was talking about hockey last episode, and another thing is how impatient people are with improvement when they expect their team to be better after acquiring some star player or changing their coach, and then the team loses once. Okay, maybe they have some patience, but after a few games, there's a few losses in there. The fans, they lose it, and they say they need to fire the coach. This person is terrible at the game, and people don't realize how many losses it takes to get to a stable, good place where you've learned to work cohesively within yourself with all the things you've learned. Just because you've improved at certain things doesn't mean that you're going to get that improvement result right away. It's going to take some time to integrate that into your personality. So be patient with yourself. I think I've said that before in another episode. So those are some of the questions I have for myself in a year. It might be interesting to look back and answer those. And to the to the listeners, I want to kind of challenge you to see if you can create some kind of New Year's resolution for Go. I'm not much of a New Year's resolution person. I don't really believe in making New Year's resolutions, because I think we should just do what we aim to do when, whatever time of year it is. But I do know that when we make New Year's resolutions, that we should be very concrete in terms of our goals. We shouldn't just say, I'm going to exercise more this year. We should say, I'm going to start going to the gym 3 times a week. Very, very concrete. And it's even better if you can say, I'm going to go to the gym on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at this time. I mean, you don't have to go that far, but the more specific you are with your goals and what you're going to do about them, the more likely it is that you're going to actually do something about those things. If you're just very vague, as in, I'm going to read more, instead of saying, I'm going to try to read a book a month, it's less likely to be something that you do, because it's not something. I mean, it's not surprising that I went on this New Year's resolution rant. This is something I've believed for many, many years. I still think so. If you're going to make a New Year's resolution, make sure it's very concrete, very specific. Don't be vague. I mean, I'm not going to go ranting again every year about this, but I can think of one thing I can do this year, and that's just because of recent developments. But I think I want to play 1 live game a month at least. And then maybe I can spend the entire month reviewing that one game, and then play a game the next month. I mean, it's a very interesting little rhythm there. I think most people play like 1 game a week or multiple games a week, but with this, I might be able to. I want to see if I can try to do that. Maybe that's something I can start doing this year. You're going to think about on a day-to-day basis. So applying that to Go. Don't just say, I'm going to become a Dawn player this year. What are you going to do in order to do that? I haven't really thought much about what I'm going to try to do. I think the things I've tried to do was I just make myself play more games. I would say, like, every night, if I have time, I'm going to play a game. Or if every night I'm going to play, or like I'm going to play a game one night, and then the next night I will review it in detail, and so on and so forth. And so maybe this time is a good time for me to try to see if I can make some kind of life and death commitment, like the life and death problem, and put some time into that and actually carve out some time. So I might do something like that as my New Year's resolution for Go, because it's probably the most concrete way to improve your game is to improve your life and death knowledge. So even just like 10 minutes a day of life and death study. I don't think I did that. I really don't think I did that. I think that's why I mean maybe just my looking down on New Year's resolutions is just really a reflection of myself not being able to commit to New Year's resolutions, and this is why I've rejected them as a whole. But yeah, I've totally lost touch with life and death problems. I used to actually do Sumego pretty regularly, but I think I've just kind of been more focused on getting a higher level strategic picture of the game. And yeah, I haven't really committed as much time to I mean, I've never really committed a lot of time to formal study of life and death. I cannot sit there and do life and death for like even 15 minutes. I just do it on my phone sometimes when there's in between time or like before bed or something like that. And honestly, that's probably a reason why some of my study just kind of slips through my fingers, because I think that it's important, like the environment that you study in and the way you set up your study habits is very important. If you're studying Go on the side in the background, watching videos while you're playing video games and like things like that, you're very distracted. You may think like you're still playing Go, but if you really want to be serious about your study, you need to set up a time and focus without distractions. Put away your phone, put away, you know, all your other things. Just concentrate on that. Let your brain absorb the material without having to multitask. And I think that, because I think that affects your retention. But yeah, Life and Death. I'm not even interested in Life and Death right now. Although, not to say that I don't like Life and Death. I love Life and Death when I can get into it. But right now, I have not been interested in it as of late. I've kind of been more wanting to go back into studying pro games, finding out the meanings of moves. I've been kind of more in a, again, like a high level state of mind. Maybe something that I can do this year. So let's see if that's something that I can stick to. And I do want to also throw out a question. So besides the New Year's resolution, I would love to know what's your New Year's resolution for Go this year, for improvement or for enjoyment, or maybe it has something to do with your emotions and your mental game. But another question that I have for you is, what do you want more of out of Starpoint? I think this is something I'd love to know more about as well, so I can help better create content for you. What do you want more of on the show? What have you liked on the show? What have you felt like, you know, maybe you don't really need on the show? Let me know so I can shape the show to what all of you want. And that's what I want for the wait, what? That's what I want to do for all of you. I guess that's that. And that was me last year talking about stuff I was wondering about, and I thought I asked myself whether I had a guest on the show. I guess I didn't want to put pressure on myself to bring a guest, but I've had a few guest episodes. I think that's like one of the biggest things for Starpoint, to have had people on the show. And I will now commence my message to my future self, and maybe we can make this a tradition. So, what am I curious about? I want to know, have you reached 1 Dan yet? I'm a 2Q on OGS, and so when I say 1 Dan, I'm talking about OGS 1 Dan. I've reached 1 Dan Fox. It's been a while. I've been pretty stuck. Maybe in the past year, my rank has gone from 3Q to 2Q. I think that was my progress, which is actually great. I don't know if that's something I would have expected of myself halfway through the year, because 3Q to 2Q seems pretty difficult actually for me. Like, I was very stuck. So I wonder, where are you in your rankings? Please don't say 2Q, because I would hope that we can continue climbing. But I understand if you're still 2Q, don't sweat. Or if you're even lower than 2Q, then let's not talk about it. But I want to know that. I want to know, what else do I want to know? I don't know. I don't I don't know if I have any other questions for myself other than what rank are you? Maybe another question is, do you think your style has changed over the past year? My current style, I would say, so I'm playing 4/4s, and I am playing for influence most of the time. And although I love complicating things, well, actually, that's just about it. I like complicating things, and I like fights, and I have not really been convinced by the conservative defensive style of play because although I know there's value in it that I need to learn and be aware of, I've gone back into my old ways of just trying to complicate things and try to catch someone off guard with the reading and things like that. I mean, of course, I am smart about it. I'm not like I try to start a fight no matter what. But when I'm given the option of cutting or not cutting or something like that, I tend to go for the aggressive stuff. And that's always led to the more interesting and satisfying games for me. And I'm wondering, are you still like that? Are there any episodes of Starpoint that you've done over the past year that I may have not ever seen coming? Like any kind of topics or interesting things that I've done? Have you gone to any more tournaments? I know you've got a busy year coming up, so maybe a lot of things might have to take a back seat in terms of Go. But I want to know what kind of major events happen. So for me, a lot of the major events were like the tournament that I went to, the LA Open, where I won my first, little award for being, what was it, third place in my section? And having guests on Starpoint, just all the amazing listener mail that I've received over the year, it was, and the amount of support that I got from the community. I want to know, have you gotten any new Go books? Have you gotten any new Go equipment? Please no, because I have plenty enough already. Have you convinced any new people to play Go? I'm putting all these questions out there, and I'm betting my future self is saying, no, stop asking me these questions because I haven't done any of that. But I have to say something, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much. Maybe the little segment will be short next year, but overall, I am doing okay in my game. I am still trying to figure out where my problems are. I haven't been playing to study as much lately. I've been more just casually. We've been playing the correspondence games, but when the time comes in a correspondence game to try, I definitely try to put in the effort to read and play the best move possible. And I have a troublesome time with resigning and giving up and knowing when I'm down and trying to make sure that I feel like I have enough. I feel like even when I'm ahead, I don't have enough, and I'm trying to squeeze all the value out of all the positions on the board. That's the kind of mental state I'm in right now. And I hope to have a more balanced approach in the future, but only time will tell where my style will go, and I'm looking forward to where this Go journey takes me. Doing that little reaction kind of reminded me about how easily I forget the progress that I make over the course of a year. It feels very often that I'm stagnant and nothing's happening, and it's because you kind of celebrate your achievements briefly, and then you just kind of forget about it, and you feel like you just focus on the long periods of time when you don't see as much progress. But over the year, I've done quite a few things, and I've actually upped my AGA rank a couple bumps. I've ranked up, and I thought I was just stagnant for the entire year, and I didn't really do much. But looking back, it's really good to be reminded that sometimes that stagnant feeling, it's not real. It's like a temporary feeling that you get based on more recent results, like past couple weeks, past few months, maybe even. And it's good to do things like this and recalibrate by reflecting on actual things that happened over the course of the year. Hope you guys enjoyed that, but now it's time for the DDK Advice Corner, and the tip of the day is take a break. It's okay to stop playing Go for a bit. I know a lot of you may be serious about the game, a lot of you may be trying to get places, but you don't want to play so much and train so much that you find yourself stressed and putting too much pressure on yourself is not a good thing. And it's always good to, even in your passions, take a break every now and then, be able to smell the flowers, feel the sunshine a bit, and get a perspective from other parts of life. Because, taking a break from it may open your brain up to accepting new, different information that you weren't able to before because you're so focused on this one thing. Don't worry, your skills won't suddenly evaporate. It's like riding a bike or even like weightlifting. You take a break, you may lose some muscle mass, but your muscles remember how to gain that back, just like how you'll remember how to regain your skill in Go if you become rusty for a bit because you took a break. A lot of that stuff is deeply ingrained in you, so don't be so afraid of taking a break. And sometimes your biggest improvement spikes may come after a good break. I think this has happened to me where I've taken a step back from something, and when I've come back into it, I felt a lot better at it for some reason. So just a little tip here to take a break, take it easy, don't take it to 100%, 120% all the time. And now it's time for listener mail. Daylin writes, "Hey Starpoint, you asked about my rank in that game. Happened roughly 12 years ago, and I was maybe around 2 Dan KGS at the time. Just to recap, Daylin had written about beating a 5 Dan player after drilling some Tsuji books, I think. Tsuji and Anti-Tsuji, I think that's what the book was. And I was wondering what rank Daylin was because I didn't know how big of an achievement was. So there's the response. Ranks have gotten much tougher post-AI, and I think that's really good because it means that overall our entire system is getting stronger. These days I'm around Fox 7 Dan, but I'm only AGA 3 Dan. I'm known by my friends to throw important games. I do think that it's mostly fair since rank is about how you play on average, and I have to overcome my anxiety and the emotional aspects of the game with the high pressure settings that tournaments bring. Yeah, that's totally the right way to go about it. It's like there is basically the very hard skill level in Go, and then there's some of the soft skills that go with it. But overall, your performance is determined by everything, not just your knowledge and skill. Like if you're great at Go and you know everything, but you're nervous every time you play a game and you can't execute, then, I mean, I don't know. You take that as you will, but the actual games that you play, that's where you live on the Go board. So, yeah, sometimes people have other things to work on other than skill. And also your comment about the ranks getting tougher post-AI, I do think that's true. And I think the community overall has been getting stronger as a whole. I don't say that just to make myself feel like I'm stronger than I am, but one concern that I have is that the community is so tight-knit and caters to the strong players often, so much so that it's taking off without them. And anyone who's into Go is good at Go. Anyone who actually has Go as a hobby is pretty good at it. And then anyone who's new to the game doesn't really feel any connection to that player base. So it does mean that the player base has gotten stronger, but it's not good if only the strong players are getting stronger. We need to make the entire player base, we need a solid foundation of people who know the rules and know how to play the game. We need a lot more 20-something Qs in this community. I think that's the focus that we should be working on, rather than trying to get all the SDKs to 1 Dan, for example, like me. So, just my 2 cents regarding that. And then continuing, as far as why I love Go, I went through 2 phases. First was when I started and I was terrible. I loved the challenge of trying to get stronger and become decent at something that is not necessarily easy. When I got past that, I grew to love the community that surrounded the game. Having a group just around the Goban talking and discussing a game, on or offline, has been some of my favorite moments. I do believe that some of this has been lost post-AI. It's harder to get these types of groups, for me at least, without bringing someone who decides to argue for something that with absolute perfect reading and calculations would play. Just because a position is better does not necessarily matter if one side needs to play like a 1Q and the other has to play moves that are tough for even a pro to find. Best regards, Dalen. Well, thank you so much for writing in, Dalen, and I'm not sure, I guess I never really tried to gather around a Goban before AI. I don't think I went out to a club until after AI. And I think that it's actually such a beautiful part of the game to crowd around a Goban and look at the moves, commenting, debating, and thinking, and talking about all these little things that happen. Because, okay, I don't have much experience in chess, for example, but I assume because it's so tactical that you can kind of have a more difficult time freely talking to each other about certain things. Someone who's a chess player and has more experience can maybe chime in, but for me, Go seems like such a good open forum discussion platform where you look at this giant grid and everybody has their own unique perspective, and we come together and we talk about what's going on the board. I think it's such a cool thing, and so that's definitely an amazing thing about Go. And I'm also with you with starting out terrible and finding this challenge attractive. And the thing is that as you are challenging yourself, over time, you realize you've invested a certain amount of time into this hobby, and your value starts to show, and then you become super invested because you realize you've achieved something very difficult and you like it, and you like that you can contribute more and do more and understand more, and it's addictive at that point. Thanks so much for writing in, Dalen. Andrew writes, "Hi Justin, I found your podcast about 2.5 months ago, and now that I'm finally caught up, I figured it would be appropriate to submit my first listener mail." Well, welcome, and thank you for submitting your first listener mail. Thank you for listening through all the backlog. It's getting harder for people, new listeners, to catch up these days, so I'm very, props to you for that. I just have to say that I really enjoy the content and will be looking forward to new shows as they are released. I feel you and I have a lot in common, and so I feel particularly lucky to have found this podcast. Oh, that's kind of sweet. For context, I grew up with a strong interest in music. My first instrument was also the guitar, but I later switched to the saxophone before dabbling in a number of other instruments, including the piano, viola, and drums. And many of the thoughts I've had on the game of Go are thoughts I've heard you share in previous 62 episodes. That's awesome, because I do have a lot of thoughts about Go, and these thoughts, they just kind of brew in your head. And I'm sure a lot of people have their own thoughts about Go, and they just kind of brew in their head without maybe a regular community to go out to talk to. So that's definitely one of the big reasons I'm doing this podcast. So it's great to see that you can kind of sympathize with some of the thoughts I'm having. We are also both roughly the same rank. I'm technically an OGS 1 Dan, but that is because I primarily play 9x9 games and have done so almost exclusively for the better part of the decade now, whereas my 19x19 rank is closer to 3 or 4Q. I've been making it a point to play more 19x19 games this past year, though I hope to flatten the discrepancy between my ability on these different board sizes soon enough. So that's actually raises a good question, because I remember playing I don't hate 9x9, I just don't like it. Or maybe I do. I like it when I start playing 9x9 and I enjoy it, but the idea of starting 9x9 does not appeal to me for some reason. And there was this little sprint of time when I decided I would join the 9x9 ladder, and I was not sure what was going to do to my rank, because I had never played 9x9 before, and I don't really know the meta of 9x9. I still don't really know. It's kind of like a crapshoot as soon as you play 3 moves, right? But I did surprisingly well, and I was like, whoa, my 19x19 skills actually translate over pretty well. I'm not sure if 9x9 ranks are inflated more overall. That's very possible. Because You know what? I'm thinking now. Like, a lot of the beginners, people who are scared of 19x19 may play 9x9, so there's a bigger base of players who are weaker in the 9x9 section versus the 19x19 section. That's a good theory. But I didn't play enough that I don't remember what my rank ended up being for 9x9, but yeah, there's some connection there, but I don't really know what it is. It's very confusing. But overall, OGS, I don't know if you guys know, but OGS averages all your ranks together. Their justification being that when they compare separating the ranks, like 9x9, 19x19, or 13x13, and trying to matchmake based on each rank per board size, they found better success getting even results by contributing all of the rank data. So just a little fun fact there about OGS's system, why they do that. But let's continue on with Andrew's listener mail. I've been making it a point to play more 19x19 games this past year, so I hope to flatten... Oops, I read this already. I have a lot I could say about 9x9 Go, and if you are ever open to discussing the matter in more detail, I feel I have a unique perspective that you and others may find interesting. It may even make for a good episode topic. For reference, I estimate that I have played somewhere in the ballpark of 20,000 plus 9x9 games, whereas my 19x19 games total less than 100. But I digress. Whoa, that's a very big imbalance. But it seems like you must be some sort of expert in 9x9. I have no idea what I'm doing on 9x9. I just kind of get to the point where I feel comfortable in reading and predicting things to happen. And then that's how I play, and I start counting the points and so on and so forth. But it's such a mystery in the beginning. The beginning is always so confusing to me on a 9x9. As for my why I love Go story, I thought I would share my introduction to the game and my eventual falling in love with it. I first learned of Go when I was in my sophomore year of college, sometime in early 2014, roughly a year or so before the famous AlphaGo versus Lee Sedol game. Through my best friend. We were both studying mathematics at the time, and he introduced me to the game after reading a reference to it in the book The Art of War. This same friend is actually responsible for a number of eclectic interests that I picked up over the years, including slacklining, poi spinning? Is poi spinning like when you spin plates on a stick? I don't know. Circus performance, Go, and many other things that I would have almost certainly never developed an interest in, and had I been left to discover them on my own. Sounds like a good friend to have. Circus performance, that is very interesting. I love that. I don't even know how you would even start with that. That's really cool, I think. Anyway, we used to play chess together, and when he showed me Go, I was admittedly very disinterested. I know. This happens to all of us. The game felt much more vast and devoid of any clear path to improvement, so I reluctantly played a few games over the next year, but never really felt a strong connection to it. Fast forward to a few months before the AlphaGo game, and I was smack dab in the middle of finals season, and like many college students, I find myself wanting to do literally anything but study for finals. So what did I decide to do instead? I learned to play Go. Yeah, you and I do have very similar stories. My friend introduced me to the game as well. I was not interested. I just kind of brushed it off. But it was in there, in my brain, just kind of somewhere in a very deep pocket. And then one day, I was like, this game might be interesting, and I decided to learn. Continuing. I don't know exactly why I suddenly developed an interest in the game, but I suppose the preceding year of dabbling in it with my friend had planted some kind of seed that slowly but surely began to take root. I started playing 9x9 bots of various strength on a website called Kosumi.net, which I found to be a great way of learning the game without the pressure of playing a human opponent, but eventually made my way to OGS, where I've been playing human players ever since. Yeah, Kosumi is a first Go website for many people. It has such a simple interface. You just get in, choose your board size, start playing, and it's just a bot, and it's very, very simply put out, and that's why so many people, especially beginners, go and flock to it and play. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to decide what bot you want to play, what queue levels are. You just play, and it's a really good beginner-friendly starter kit to trying the game out. Continuing, I think if I were to ultimately distill into one sentence my reasons for loving Go, I would have to quote Frank Lance's opening line from the AlphaGo documentary. Here you go. Hey, you know what? Instead of me reading this, let me just play it for you.
It's intensely contemplative. It is almost hypnotic. It's like putting your hand on the third rail of the universe. If you play Go, seriously, there is a chance that you will get exposed to this experience that is kind of like nothing else on the planet. Go is putting you in a place where you're always at the very farthest reaches of your capacity. There's a reason that people have been playing Go for thousands and thousands of years, right? It's not just that they want to understand Go, they want to understand what understanding is.
I really think the above quote is just a beautiful encapsulation of how I feel about the game, and after 10 years of playing, I can confirm that my interest in the game only continues to grow deeper. So, to answer your question, why do I love Go? It is the seemingly perfect ability of Go to simultaneously reward logic and creativity that really does it for me. Not at all unlike music. If you're a theory nerd like me, I am not a theory nerd like you. Sorry, I know a little bit of theory, but I cannot really nerd out about it. Or a beautifully written mathematical proof. Go just has that je ne sais quoi, and I'm all here for it. Thanks again for bringing this podcast to the community, and I wish you and your family a safe and happy holiday season. Best, Andrew. Thanks so much for your amazing listener mail, Andrew, and thanks for listening. And I also wish you and your family a safe and happy holiday season. That Frank Lance opening quote is really great. It's a very good illustration of what is so magical about Go. I've definitely was drawn to that as well. Again, thanks for writing in, Andrew. And then Sadaharu writes, it's interesting you mentioned you like the ranking system in Go, because that's the one thing I don't like. Of course, I love to increase my rank, but one thing is that once you increase, you never go down no matter how badly you play later. It records the highest point you achieved and not your current level. Just look at all the 9Ps who can't even beat 1Ps or strong amateurs. I think having a rating that moves accordingly to your current level like that in chess makes more sense. Or maybe the rank should go up and down like that in the Go servers. Okay, so I think you're talking specifically about the professional ranking system, which I don't think I was commenting on in that episode, but I kind of agree with you here. Actually, I think it should be almost reversed, where the pros should be fluctuating up and down and fighting for the rankings, whereas we, the common amateurs, should have a motivator to achieve a certain rank and get that title. I think Andrew Okun, former president of the AGA, was a big proponent of this kind of concept where you can achieve certain things in Go, and it's not just something that can be taken away from you. Let's say you become a single-digit queue, you get some kind of honorary single-digit queue status. If you become a one-dan player, you become a one-dan player for life. That kind of thing, I think, is a very good motivator, helps support the Go community. Whereas I think, in professional play, that's the thing, is that people have these professional ranks. If you don't know, the professional rankings is really just based on number of wins throughout your career. So it's not a good measure of your strength, your current strength. So a lot of people go by the GoRatings.com stuff. That's very unofficial. And maybe there should be some changes made here and there. But there's a big culture of seniority respect in the East Asian communities. So that's probably why this it's kind of built like this. But I do agree with certain points there you brought up, Sadaharu. And Sadaharu also writes, I play Correspondence Go because I have no time for live games. And Correspondence games allows me to enjoy the thrill of playing Go. I do agree with the disadvantages that you mentioned. If I am losing a game due to a mistake that I made, every time I look at the game, I will get very depressed, lol. I still feel that live games are necessary if you really want to play serious games and improve your game. Yeah, I hate that. Like, you're playing, it's like it drags on your feeling of a losing game so much more, because like when you're playing a live game and you start losing, you blunder and you're like trying to struggle for air and you're just trying to make it through this game. Like, okay, that's not a good feeling, but you'll be done in like 30 minutes or less. In the correspondence game, you screw up and now you're gonna like have this constant reminder all the time telling you that you're losing, telling you messed up, and it's just the worst. On the other hand, I do like it when I'm winning, and it's like you always look at this game and you're like, oh yeah, this is the game I'm doing really well in. Oh yeah, and that's also is a trade-off, but yes, I definitely have felt that. Thanks for writing in, Sadaharu. Maxime Lesage 399 says, hello Justin, a little off topic, but would you mind pointing towards the episode where you talked about an app to memorize professional games? I heard it, looked for it, was only on iPad, didn't have one. Now I have one. You know, the thing is that it wasn't only on iPad. I don't have an iPad. I use my iPhone for that game, so I will look for it, and hopefully I remember to put it in the description. If I can't find it, I'm sure I'll find it. I'll find it and put it in the description. Unless the developer maybe pulled it or something, then that's why you can't find it. But I'll look in the description and see if I put that in there. Thanks for writing in. Mavan Vranken writes, I play mostly correspondence. It allows me to have several games going on, and I wake up to a fresh perspective on the board. It really helps your whole board vision. Not that I dislike live games, I really enjoy long form games like 2 hours per side or such. Oh my goodness, I've never done a 2 hour per side game. Continuing. But as you mentioned in the podcast, it takes the stress off trying to read everything out in one sitting, and you can decide, okay, I need to decide if I can Tanuki before I plan this out. I just had this scenario in a correspondence game I'm playing. I have a group that I wasn't sure lived if I played right away, so I took a day and came back to it and decided, okay, it lives. And I played an incursion into an opponent's closing moyo. I would have wasted a move if I had secured a secure group. Yeah, I totally agree with your points on the whole board vision thing. It's like, it really resets you every time versus being so drawn in by the clock and getting lost in a single train of thought, tunnel visioning into a certain area of the board. When you're forced to look at, like, take long breaks between your moves, you really do evaluate the entire board a lot more often. So it's definitely a good thing to do for that purpose. And I also do that where I just kind of skip my move for now, come back to it, and see how I feel again about it. It's an interesting little thing. And then I also have another listener mail from Eric Lee, not the Eric Lee, but the Eric Lee. He also wrote another amazing listener mail that I may have to dedicate the next episode to. So keep an eye out for that. But that'll do it for listener mail today. And if I didn't get to your listener mail, I'll be sure to get to it by the next episode, which will be in January, I believe, 6th. So the question of the week the question of the year has been, how has your year been? What happened in 2024? I mean, related to Go, but if you don't want to talk about Go, you want to talk about something else that happened to you, feel free. I'll see you in the new year and address whatever you've been through this past year. If you want to share your thoughts about this question or have a ghost story to share, or you have a question of your own you want to ask me, comment on YouTube or the Reddit post for this episode, or you can email me directly at starpointbaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. If you are a YouTube listener, I would greatly appreciate a like and or subscribe. And if you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. A very, very special thank you to Jeffrey H., James B., John M., and Tristan for supporting Starpoint. I was playing a game, and the board next to me had the exact same co-shape and the exact same part of the board. It was quite the coincidence. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for the great year. Happy holidays. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll see y'all in 2025. Keep playing Go.